High in the mountains, where morning clouds rest upon the slopes and the wind sings its long songs through the pines, there lived an old llama. His small house stood on the edge of a cliff, and each evening he would return there from the mountain paths. His wife and children awaited him. What amazed many was this: in his home, there were no quarrels, no cries, no shadows of fear. Peace and silence reigned there, like the quiet breath of the mountain wind. Even travelers who stayed for a night would marvel. How can such a simple dwelling shine with such harmony? One day, the Lama's students could no longer contain their curiosity. "Master," they asked, "how do you preserve peace within your family? In the villages we see people arguing, scolding, worrying about the future, longing for wealth. But in your home there is serenity, as if it were a temple. What is your secret?" The Lama smiled, and his eyes grew deep, like a lake that reflects the sky. "There are 3 things I never bring home," he said. "If you wish to understand, walk with me. Today, the mountains themselves will give us the answers." The students bowed and followed him. Their path led them to a village at the mountain's foot. On a narrow street, they saw a farmer shouting at his wife. "Today at the market I was cheated," he yelled, clenching his fists. "The merchant charged me double. Look at your father, children. This is what a fool looks like. Easy to deceive." The wife lowered her head, the children clung to her side, and the man's words fell like sharp stones, wounding everyone around him. The students felt pity rise in their hearts. The Lama said, "Do you see what resentment does? One man carries it in his chest, but when he enters his home, he throws that burden upon his loved ones. Resentment is like a heavy stone. Its weight does not lessen when shared. Instead, it grows heavier because each person must carry it in their own way." The students watched the children cry and fell silent. "When someone wrongs me," the Lama continued, "I leave my stone on the road. Let it lie among other stones, where it belongs. Home is not a place for burdens. Home is a place for lightness." And they walked on. The path climbed higher into the mountains. The wind grew colder, and snow glittered on the peaks. Suddenly they heard howling. Wolves lurked in the forest along the slope. The students drew closer to the Lama. Soon they met a hunter sitting by a fire. His eyes darted nervously. His hands shook. Seeing the Lama, he whispered, "There are wolves in the forest. I told my wife and children that I fear I cannot face them. Now they cannot sleep at night." The students turned to the Lama. "Do you see what fear does?" he said quietly. "It is like poisonous smoke. One breathes it in and cannot find air. But if that smoke enters a home, it fills every corner and suffocates all." The students understood. Their teacher never carried his fear back to his family. "When fear visits me," the Lama said, "I leave it out here in the mountains. Let it howl in the valleys, where it belongs. Within the home there must be only the warm air of calm." On the 3rd day, they reached a wealthy village. At its center rose the mansion of a local lord. Servants hurried across the courtyard, rare birds sat in cages, and music flowed through the garden. At the gate stood a merchant, scolding his sons. "You must be richer than I am," he shouted. "Our neighbor has a new horse, and we are left with an old nag. We live poorly. Your father is nothing but a pauper." The sons argued with one another. The wife turned away in sorrow, and the whole house throbbed with envy and restlessness. The students sighed heavily. "Desire is a fire," the Lama said. "Outside, it can warm you and give strength, but if carried inside, it burns down the walls of the home and scorches the hearts of loved ones." He turned to his students. "When desire stirs in me, I leave it where it was born, in the courtyards of the wealthy, in the noise of markets, in tales of glory. Let it live its own life. My home must burn with only one fire, the fire of gratitude." By the time they returned to his hut, the sun was setting behind the peaks. The children played at the doorway. His wife greeted him with warm tea. Laughter drifted inside the house. and the air was filled with a silence free of stone, smoke, and fire. The students entered and listened long to this unusual peace. Finally, one asked, "Master, if you leave resentment, fear, and desire at the door, what do you bring home instead?" The Lama smiled, and his face grew clear as the sky above the mountains. "I bring 3 gifts," he said. "A clear mind, so I may understand my family. A calm heart, so they may feel my strength. And kind words, so their spirits may remain light." He looked at his children and added, "That is enough for a family to live in harmony." That night, as the mountains were covered in darkness, the students sat by the fire, reflecting on the Lama's words. One said, "Now I understand why my father often quarreled with my mother. He carried home resentments as though he bore baskets of stones." Another said, "I remember my mother, who each winter feared hunger. She told us of her dread, and we lived through her fears, though we had not yet known them ourselves." A third added, "My brother is always chasing wealth and honor. Our house is filled with arguments, envy, and unrest. Now I see where it comes from." The Lama listened in silence. Then he said, "The mistakes of others are your lessons. But wisdom does not begin with judgment. It begins with refusing to carry stones, smoke, and fire into your own home." And when the students lay down to sleep, it seemed to them that the Lama's hut was breathing with a special light, the light of a clear mind, a calm heart, and kind words.